Hello there, Q.U.A.n.IQ here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into the video. I've said this before, but my house burnt down when I was 5, and I lived in shelters for like ever during my childhood. So I was living in one, and it's crazy. I remember I was like 11. I only remember this because I'm a psycho and I did math. And in the last shelter that I lived in, I lived there for like 4 years. And the beginning of it, or halfway through, or something like that, is when this happened. This shelter was divided up into like 3 buildings basically, although it was one giant building, took up the whole block. And well, not like a whole block, like I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah. So there was like section A, B, and C, and I lived in A, you know, because I'm an A star. Wait, I'm A star. I'll stop. They had like this after school thing right next to the security office that let you in. The gates right before you went up this long staircase that let you into the building, and they had like offices and like a little place you can hang out and do homework, and then like a little courtyard where you can go outside but still be within the gates of the shelter. And I didn't really like hanging out there because I didn't really want to talk to anybody, but I went out there once because I was bored, and I noticed there was this cute boy, and I was like, oh my god. So I started going there all the time after school. I noticed he always wore like these little snapbacks, and he was always playing basketball with his friends, and he would look at me and I would die a little inside because I was like so shy and awkward, like, oh my god, you know. And yeah, one day he was like playing basketball and he left quickly. Well, not really, he was leaving, and I saw he left his hat, and I was gonna get up and say something, but I thought of this diabolical plan, and I was like, if I take his hat and I'm the one to give it to him and return it to him, he has no choice but to talk to me, and that's how I would be forced to talk to him. Because in my 11-year-old mind, it was like the best plan of all plans that ever went down in plan history. Like, I was in there. It was a for sure thing that he would talk to me and we would fall in love and be live there in this dang shelter happily ever after, you know. But yeah. So I waited for him to leave, and then I took his hat. And then I waited like a couple more minutes, and then I went to my house. And then like the next couple days I had his hat, and I would like wear it at my house, and it was, my mom would be like, whose hat is that? And I was like, oh, just a friend's, they left it and I'm holding it for them because I'm a good friend. And she was like, oh, okay. I need help. But I would go to like the courtyard area with his hat and wait for him, and for a couple of days he like didn't show up, so I was like, whatever, I'll just keep it at my house and keep his hat, I guess. I like told people, they were like, oh, isn't that the guy's hat? That's how I learned his name was Chris. And I was like, yeah, this is Chris's hat. And they were like, oh, well, I know where he lives, I can just give it to him. And I'm like, no, if you could just tell him that I have it, he can retrieve it from me, and that would be great. Because, you know, they give it to him, that would have ruined my plans. Some girl talking to my man, I don't think so. But yeah, so I guess he got word that I had his hat, and he tracked me down and figured out where I lived, and he came into my house one day, and all I know is my mom answered the door, and she's like, "Q.U.A.n.IQ, there's somebody here for you." And I went to the door, and it was him, and I was like, okay, hi. And he was like, hey, so you have my hat? And I was like, hat. Your hat. Do I hat? What color is it? A hat? I don't know. I have like a couple of hats. What does yours look like? I need help. But like he described it, I think it was like red and black or something, I don't know. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I did. Yes, that was your hat. Okay, I'll go grab it. And I went to like go grab it, and I went to give it to him, and he's like, okay, so you did steal my hat. And I was like, I did not steal your hat. It was left there all alone and needed a head to be warm on top of. So I gladly took it in. I don't even remember what I said. Probably something stupid like that. But yeah, we like talked for like a minute, and then he was like, well, thanks for my hat, and then left. And I was like, bye. And then my mom's like, oh, that's the guy whose hat you had. It was a guy. Oh. I'm like, yeah, mom, like, don't make it a big deal, like, cause it's not, even though he was the love of my life, and it was, but like, whatever. After that, he talked to me in like the little quad courtyard thing, and that was everything. And he would like sit next to me, and like we would talk. And while he was playing basketball, he was like, hey, you want to hold my hat? And I was like, sure, whatever, okay. And like I would wear it, and I was basically his girlfriend. And then I don't know, we like hung out, we did that for a while. And then now that I think about it, I think we were dating. I'm pretty sure we were dating. But yeah, one day he told me he was having this party at his house, and somehow convinced my mom to let me go. That's how I found out he lived in building C. And I was like, okay, now I know where he lives. Now I can stalk him fully, accurately. So I went to this party, and it was crazy. There was kids my age, a little bit older, a little bit younger, and they were just like, that thing where like the guys like on the wall, like doing this, and the girls like in front of him, like doing this. You probably can't even see what I'm doing, but she like got her butt in his like area. They were like grinding, and like he was like pushing and she was pushing, and there was like people all up on the walls doing that. And I was standing there like, oh my, like I didn't know we were allowed to do that. I didn't even know what that was. I was sheltered within the shelter. Like I didn't know stuff. I watched TV all day, with my life, so I didn't do anything. And everybody would like push me on to Chris and be like, oh, you guys should do that, but I didn't know how to do that, so I wasn't gonna do that. I wasn't about to embarrass myself in front of my crush, in front of all these people, all his friends, and be like, doing something awkward, and he's just standing there like, what's wrong with this girl? I'm never talking to her again. So I was like, no, it's okay, no. And I guess he could see how uncomfortable it made me, so he was like, oh, it's okay. And I was like, knight in shining armor, who said chivalry's dead, But yeah, so that party was lit. I think if I'm doing the math correctly, it was like 2006, 2007, because I remember that Rihanna song was out, Under My Umbrella, Ella, I'll stop. But yeah, and that played on the radio like 37 times. So that's like how I learned the words to that song that day. Because I was just sitting there in the corner, drinking a Huggy, chilling, while everybody was partying around me. And I was like, best party ever, I'm here, I'm participating, like. my boyfriend's house. This is amazing. Sometimes on like weekends and in like the summertime, the shelter people would take all his kids out. Well, whichever kids wanted to go or was allowed to or whatever. They would take us out to like the park and stuff. And I remember the one time we went to the pool, and after I get out the pool, I need like 12 tons of lotion because I get super ashy. And we rode the train back that day, and it was super cold, so I got dried off really fast, and I was as pale as a ghost. Like, if you saw me, you would have thought I was a ghost. And Chris was there, and it was like the worst time of my life. Thank God somebody had lotion, and I was like lathering myself up, you know, and they were like, you need lotion, and I was like, I know I need lotion, I can see I have eyes, thanks. If we cannot mention this in front of Chris, that would be great. Much appreciated. Thanks. Yeah. And then I remember another time we like went to the park, and me, every time I go to the park, swings, I'm down, that's where I'm at the whole time. And I was just, you know, chilling on the swing. Chris came over and talked to me, and you know, we were just hanging out, we held hands, we kissed, it was so romantic. And he told me that he might be moving because his mom was thinking because his mom was thinking about looking in get it together because his mom was thinking about looking into moving. I was heartbroken. And I remember I was such a psycho stalker that, let's see, I was 11, he was 13, and I think his birthday was in May, if I remember correctly, because I remember I did like math or whatever, and I was like, oh my god, we're 2 years, 2 months, and like 11 days or 7 or something like that apart, because I'm a psycho. But I remember I went to like the after school thing one time, which now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure it was summer, and they were trying to figure out what to do that day, and they were like, oh, you know, let's go to the pool, but I didn't have my bathing suit, and I didn't have my keys, so I couldn't, you know, go back to my house and grab my bathing suit. So I was just like, okay, sitting there, and then they decided to go to the pool. I wasn't really paying attention, but I was like, sure, I'll go, I'm down, because I have nowhere else to go. It was either that or sit outside my door, wait for my mom to come home. Like, I'll go with you guys. So Chris wasn't there that day. And then through like talking to people, I learned that he went with his mom to like look at apartments and stuff. The heartbreak. And so like that day when we got to the pool, I thought I could just walk in and chill because I can't swim anyway, so I wasn't really gonna swim. So I was just like, whatever, I'll just sit by the pool, you know, with everybody else. But I guess that specific pool, you couldn't be let in unless you were wearing a bathing suit, which I didn't know that was a thing. So when we got there, everybody yelled at me, and then one of the supervisors took me to the store to get a bathing suit, and I wasn't trying to be all cute because, you know, Chris wasn't there, so I don't really care. So first one that fit, I was like, it's a go, let's go. And if I remember correctly, that day somebody picked me up and was gonna throw me in the pool, and I'm like screaming, stop, no, I can't swim, and they're like, ha ha ha, and threw me in anyways. So of course I panicked and started drowning. And then got rescued. And then, you know, by the end of that day, I was just exhausted because, you know, drowning and pretending to swim, it like takes a lot out of you. So I was super tired. So I went home. My mom was home, thank God, and I knocked out. I was so freaking tired. And then I think that was like a Saturday or Friday or something. So by the time like Monday rolled around, I noticed I didn't hear anything from Chris, and I didn't see him in the hallways or anything. So when I was hanging out with my after school people, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go, go see what's up with Chris. And they were like, he moved. What are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm I'm sorry, I didn't clean my ears for like a week. Um, what did you say? And they were like, yeah, he moved like a couple of days ago. I'm surprised he didn't say anything to you. Aren't you guys like dating or whatever? And I'm like, well, I thought we were. So I went to his house, knocked on his door, and there was no answer. And I'm like, okay. And then I continued to try to stalk him for a couple of days. And then I realized everybody was right, and he totally moved. And he didn't even say anything. And this guy just broke my heart. Like, how could he? Doesn't he know I was like madly in love with him? I don't understand. And then like a week later, my mom told me that day that I went to the pool and I went to sleep and I was taking a freaking nap because I was so tired because I almost died. Told me that day that he came over and he came to say goodbye to me, and he told her to tell me that he was moving. I was so freaking mad. I was like, Mom, like, why didn't you wake me up? I don't understand. And she's like, oh, you were sleeping. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, you let the love of my life leave. Like, I was over here planning children with this guy. I was gonna take his last name. I knew exactly how far apart we were in years and of age, and you just betray me like this? Like, I never believed the word she said after that. Never. But yeah, I was heartbroken for like months after that. Like, I just stayed in my room all day and did nothing. But like, I don't even know what there was to do back then. What did we do in 2006? I didn't have a phone, so phones were like just coming out back then. Actually, they weren't like just coming out, but whatever. The point is I didn't have one. So I don't even know what I did. Probably played like Sudoku or something. Like the nerd that I was, doing nothing at home, watching TV as always. But yeah, I was devastated. And I just forgave my mom for that like a couple of years ago. So, it's hard for me because I hold grudges. But like, that could have been the love of my life, I should look him up on Facebook. And see if I could find him on Facebook, because I remember his last name. But maybe that's creepy, because I haven't talked to him since he left me, deserted me, all alone. I'll stop being over dramatic. But yeah, that was it. Until next time. Bye.